We got hards on. We're going to the end.
And I'm infused. I'm over the moon. This I'm being sarcastic, of course. Spa. I've got a huge spot on my nose. So that's one bad thing. And the second bad thing, it was this race. Because for me anyway, considering who my favourite drivers are and whom I back the most. And by the way, I think it goes without saying, if you back a driver, you kind of then, going in hand of hand, want their teammate to be doing not badly but worse than them. You know, even if you like their teammate as well, like it just goes without saying, if you back this driver, it just comes with the baggage of backing them. Damn, I got balls. That wasn't rhyming. It just sort of sounded like an amazing sort of, you know. Anyway, you kind of just want the teammate to do worse than them at least. So when you're watching a race and everyone you're backing's teammate does better than them on top of everything else, it's just like, ouch. And usually I'll write notes down for this, by the way. They'll be like, I'll write down the race order and like the qualifying order, who gained positions. Oh, but let's note down some funny radio. Not today. Not today, no notes. Literally just watched it. My head's gone. My head is gone. I am fuming. I'm ready to fire shots. Anyone can catch strays today. You know, any single person. Lando Norris's mum might catch some strays because I'm just willing to like fire at anyone. I'm annoyed. If you don't know, George Russell won this race. He won on the one stop, a bit of a defensive masterclass, and you know that meme, like everybody liked that. Exact opposite. I think, you know, everybody liked that was Hamilton just winning this race. It looked like he was going to from like the second he took the lead of this race, like on the fifth lap, whatever it was. Um, this is the exact opposite because as much as, you know, George Russell is a bit of a meme queen, you know, he's he's a bit of an icon. Doing anything to the detriment of Lewis Hamilton is not exactly popular. And yeah, he put on a great show, which can't be denied. Not in terms of it was exciting, but in terms of it was a good performance from him. And you know what? That is a shame because I would much would like Hamilton winning would have at least been like for me the silver lining of this race, and my silver lining got snatched away from me, and I realized that on like the last lap of the race that was the case. And then when you realize you haven't got a silver lining, it's like it's the worst thing in the world. There's that happened. I mean, we'll get into like the nitty gritty, the like details of everything with the qualifying and what happened specifically, but just to brush over the big things, that was the first thing that just sort of killed me. I mean, that was maybe the last thing that stuck a stake through my heart, but like on top of that, I mean, Ricardo didn't get in the points. That's like a smaller thing, but you know, Tsunoda took the penalty this weekend, but you know, Ricardo outqualified him anyway, outside of there being a penalty, so he got that under his belt. But it's kind of annoying. Whenever Sonoda has a better weekend and he outqualifies, he goes on to at least get 1 or 2 points. Whereas Ricardo, it's always like P11, P12, like just outside, and nothing to show for it. So once again, doesn't get any points here, even though he had a better weekend. Drove a pretty good race, strategy was fine. Probably could have got into Q3 in qualifying if they timed whatever they were doing right, but they didn't. But outside that, he had a decent enough weekend. But still, I mean, he's still good enough to maybe put himself in the door for that Perez seat because I think it was Brundle. It got to like, you know, let's say there's 44 laps. It was like lap 40, and it was like the whole race they were going Perez, like any little interaction Perez had with anyone else, they were like, "Oh, Perez here. This is his week where he's going to try and prove that he is the guy, and you know that he deserves his seat, and that he hasn't forgot to drive." And every single time he would do something, that's what they would say. And then it got to the 40th lap out of 44, and they went, "Yeah, you know what? Actually, no. Perez hasn't had a no. It's actually been another disaster for Perez. Considering, wait. Yeah, he started on the front row, didn't he? Yeah, and now he's like eighth, pitting to set the fast to snatch a point for fastest lap, which is, you know, actually. Oh wait, no, he has no. He's actually behind Verstappen, who started P11, 20 whatever seconds off the lead. Yeah, no, it hasn't went well from has it? Because all of a sudden he qualified actually where he should be towards the front, and we saw him have interactions and actually be near because he should usually be. We kind of got tricked for 90% of the race thinking he was having a good race, and they gave him a shitty strategy, I guess, but still, it's just like, oh no, he didn't. So yeah, I think that seat is still the door was not shut anymore today. From Perez, he did. You know, if the latch is off, The door is still swinging open in the breeze, so anyone can sort of step in. I might throw my hat in the ring soon and just see, see what I can muster. But that was kind of annoying. The whole Ricardo of it all. The Russell of it all annoyed me more though, just because that would have just been nice. It's nice seeing Hamilton up on the thing, just trying to really cement the GOAT status with as much stat padding as he can. But I mean, the thing that is really just the main thing for me is, and this is the guy I back the most, guys. Okay, but Lando Norris bottle is the words to use, and it's been bottling it consistently. And around Austria times and before, a little bit after, I was more defending it and stuff in terms of the pace advantage of the car for a lot of the tracks and this and that and the starts and some of the strategies. But like, when you consistently have bad strategy, you kind of got to look at yourself and say, yeah, luck and that. Good luck is a thing, bad luck is a thing. People get luck. Talk to Charles Leclerc about that, right? But at the same time, when you're constantly having a bad strategy, I think you've got to also look at yourself and go, why? Now, I think for the second stop, to me, I was like, you 100% need to pit before Verstappen here. Undercut Verstappen. Because you're right behind him now, after catching him on the quicker tyres, but you proved you can't pass. You proved you couldn't pass with way quicker or fresher tyres, that you can't pass Verstappen. Even with that, you just haven't got the pace to. Whether that's within the limits of the car or you or whatever, sure. But I think if Norris is ahead, equally, I think he could keep Verstappen behind. Just pit him a lap before Verstappen for the second stop. That's what I thought they should have done. They didn't. They pitted him a lap after. So he has 1 lap better tyres, and he's on the hard tyres. Which tyre will be better, hard or medium type thing. And again, he proved he wasn't going to pass. And I'm sorry. Right? And you could look at that as bad strategy. But why, and this is my point, why is that a bad strategy or whatever today? Leaving him out really long. McLaren are so passive in these situations of just letting everyone else move first and then them just reacts to it and then decide what to do in the moment. They are the worst for that, right? But again, why are you in bad strategy? You started the race P4, Verstappen started P11. Going into a break, there was no excuse to not, even by 1 or 2 points, to close the gap to Verstappen this week, and that is crucial. You want to be annoyed about like letting Piastri ahead last weekend. I want to be in a championship fight. What championship fight? You started P4. You started P11 and you've walked out of the weekend another 2 points behind. That is just piss poor, man. Multiple mistakes throughout the whole weekend, throughout the whole race. Yeah, sure, you can look at the team, but just another shit start. Just looks not at it at the moment. And maybe the break has came at a good time to refresh. But just when you look at this period they've had from Verstappen not winning every race, the fact that Lando has won 1 race, that is a problem. George Russell has won 2. George Russell is the only other driver, apart from Verstappen, to win more than 1 race this season, right? Which is like, that's a problem. George Russell, who is known for actually crumbling under pressure sometimes, coming into like the final, that's when he's leading, and he'll sometimes go off and make a mistake, right? This guy has won 2 races in a Mercedes that has been nowhere near as dominant as the McLaren, but he's capitalised when the car has been good. And I just think Lando Norris, it's all well and good consistently getting P2s, P3s. I think that's how he managed to have a decent season in F2. But again, he didn't win F2, he came second. With a lot of good, consistent performances, being on the podium. But I don't actually think he was on the number 1 step too much that season. You could fact check me on that because I haven't checked that before saying it. But I think that's the case. So, yeah, it's frustrating. And this is from someone, obviously, I wouldn't be so annoyed if I didn't back Lando and I wanted to see it. And, if we go into the next season, I mean, and the McLaren is still decent, then, I'm open to the fact that he could be in a championship fight or whatever for a championship. But, like, and I never thought he would win it this season, but it's just worrying the fact that, like, you found yourself in this position, you're in a really good place. And I was defending it before, but I do think ultimately Russell and Leclerc and Hamilton and Sainz even, I think a lot of drivers would be, can't say Piastri because he actually is in the same car, but a lot of drivers who maybe would have found themselves with this car beneath them for these last few races would have maybe came out with more points than he has. And it's just like, yeah, you were P4, he's P11, mate, and you get just it's all well and good getting passed by Piastri, right, going into the thing, but then going out onto the gravel a bit and then losing 2 places, and then it's like after 2 laps, Verstappen was already like behind him. Like just the way that came together, it's disappointing, man. It's disappointing. And look, this is a track that Piastri is pretty good at. I'm not sure if this is a track Lando is particularly great at. I mean, I remember he went off here under the rain that time, so I don't know if this may be one of his weaker tracks, whatever. Piastri won a sprint race here. I think he was better than Norris in this track last season, I think, as well. So maybe it's just not a track that he's great at. But man, oh man, it's just disappointing. It's just disappointing, and everyone's gassed about it because Norris has actually became recently one of the more like hated drivers in the grid. Like people don't like him, thinks he says in the cool down room. People think he's annoying and spoiled or whatever. People don't like Norris. People are actually really happy about this. Which, if you told me there would be a world like not too long ago where people would be gassed that Verstappen is just easily keeping and creating a bigger lead to whoever is the driver in second place, I would have been shocked by that. But that's just how it's going at the moment. And I'm not sure what the first race is after the break. I'm not even sure how long the break is. But it's so annoying to go into a break and for this to be the race to go into it with the fact that I'm a Hamilton guy, I'm a Norris guy, I'm a Ricciardo guy. Neither of them, like Ricciardo didn't get points. Hamilton lost that win to Russell, sorry. And Norris, shit weekend in general. Just, yeah, I mean, Perez had a bad, I mean, I don't even know what to say. I mean, it's just demoralizing. I'm just here to be miserable. Like, are you getting a kick out of this? Are you getting a kick out of seeing me just die on the inside? Because, man, it's like, ugh, it sucks so much. And, like, I don't even have anything against Russell. I don't, but you got to understand it's just the scenario. It's just the situation we're in. I mean, if we had to do the soft, medium, hard awards now, I would say, I mean, who would I give soft to? Soft has to be, no, I'm giving soft to Norris. What am I saying? Like, I'm sorry. The fact that I'm giving like the weakest awards to Norris in a race where technically Perez did worse. Perez started ahead of Norris and finished behind Norris. So like Perez did the same thing, but just worse in like, a car that was, I think, maybe more. I'm not actually sure. I couldn't tell which car was more dominant this weekend, really, because the qualifying was in the rain and stuff. So it's difficult to know what the pace was actually saying. But like, technically, Perez did what Norris did, but just worse. But I'm giving it to Norris because the whole of last weekend and the whole like, oh my god, I don't want to give this place up, and because I want to be in a championship fight here, and this and that. To go into this weekend where you start like 7 places in front of someone, and within 3 laps you are like next to each other, and you leave the race weekend 2 points dropped on him is just the biggest bottle I've ever seen. Probably not, but it's a bottle anyway. Norris, I've got to give it a soft. Medium, who had a mid-weekend. Mid, I'd probably give Ricciardo. Like, he did everything right, but ultimately walking away with no points is, disappointing. And hard award, you got to give it to George. Because George, I think, I could count on 17 pairs of hands the amount of times that George has said this Hail Mary thing. No, just keep me out. I'll do 0 stops, George. That's actually not possible. I'll do, you know what I mean? Like, George just said, like, screaming down the radio that he's going to do this, like, crazy strategy he just came up with that he's just, pieced together in his mind, right? And it never works out. 2 laps later, his tire, 7 of them are punctured and he's limping and it didn't work out. And to be fair, this time, George, just to be sure here, because they was like, George, you're in a burning building right now. And we're willing to let you come out. We're on a ladder here. We'll pull you out. But just so this is on you. You sure you want to stay on these tires? Yep. And to be fair, he goes on and he wins the race. And the fact that the entire time the commentators are talking about, oh, well, it would be team orders and they'll switch. And maybe Hamilton will be kind enough to give him DRS so that he can stay ahead of Piastri. Maybe Hamilton will find that in his heart to do that. And the fact that Hamilton caught up, couldn't pass, and it actually worked for Russell, and he didn't bin it like he would do in the past, and he won the race. you got to go fair play Russell, which kills me to say because it's at the the detriment or whatever of Hamilton, but it's the facts of the situation. It's just the truth of it all. And is there anything else to really talk about? I mean, there was no safety cars. I mean, Zhou went out, but it was just through to some kind of hydraulic issue. There was no safety cars. It wasn't even really an entertaining race. Like they shortened the DRS on that straight, and they was pretending like that's a good thing because it makes it less easy. I found myself actually more bored throughout Spa. Everyone loves Spa because it's like you got that big, uphill bit and shit, and it's just like exciting and it's the longest lap, whatever. Um, but I don't know. I felt like most overtakes are in the same place, and all we did, like most of the overtakes on this track happen on that straight, right? Most of them. Some of them happen coming down into like the chicane, the bus stop chicane or whatever before the start line. So some happen there, but like most of the overtakes happen on that straight, and by shortening like the DRS, all we really did is make those overtakes happen. Still only there, but slightly less, and it's like they only happen there anyway, and now they're only going to happen there 50% of the time. I'm just like, a lot of this race was just watching DRS trains, if we're being honest, and it had a different winner, and it had a Norris bottle, but like, it actually wasn't a great race. Like, I've got to give this a score out of 10. I'm giving this like a, I mean, there was drama. I'll give it like a 6, but like, I actually think, and I think we've had some really, like, we went from last weekend, which was not like a great race in terms of racing, but it had great, just comments on the radio, and it was like, oh my God, this is like better than any soap you can watch on TV, any sort of drama, Goodfellas or like Breaking Bad, put that shit in the bin, and we got some F1 team radios happening right now. And then the race before that was just great because it was in terms of chaos racing, and like, it was actually good in terms of that department. This one, it was like, yeah, you had a winner you didn't expect come out of nowhere in the last 5 laps. Um, but it really wasn't. It didn't really offer me much. I think if the only way you give this a 10 out of 10 is if you're, George Russell's mum. Apart from that, even little things that just piss me off. The reason I said anyone can catch strays in this pod is because even little things like I saw like, oh look at Lando Norris's dad recording him as he drives out of the pit lane as his mum takes pictures. Oh, little love heart emoji, little emoji with the hearts all around him. Oh, it's so cute. Like, I saw that after I saw Russell win the race, and I was just pissed off. That he has loving parents, sure. I was just like, no, why couldn't you have Verstappen's parents who leave you at the racetrack and make you walk home 12 miles when you're 4 years old because you didn't win? In that moment, I was just so pissed because it's like, oh, Lando Norris, cutesy little fucking Care Bear. And well, I want someone who actually can be him and to have the dog in him. And for that dog to not be a dachshund, and to actually have a decent start recently. Because it's annoying. Like, because Norris is someone who I never would have said hasn't got the dog in him, hasn't got the him, like, to be like, I am him. Because for me, he had shown that, relatively speaking, for the pace of the car he had before. Like, when he had the car he had before, he would finish P2 or P3, and what were I'm him performances because that's the best he could have done with the car at the time because there was no catching Verstappen. But it's like he can't produce those moments anymore now that those moments would result in wins, which shows to me it's like not a skill issue, it's like a mental issue at the moment. Not that he's clinically insane, but just that, that's something he's got to overcome in terms of, I don't know, not constantly locking up and like just going into the gravel and stuff like that. And I don't know, man. Like I said, I didn't need him to win this race. He could have finished 4th this race, fine, where he started. He could have been on the podium, but he could have finished 7th, even further back than he did finish. But like the fact you came out of it, and I've said this 700 times this pod already, but behind Verstappen, he started P11. Same to you, Perez, but you're not involved in this championship debate, so just you stay over there, mate. It's just, oh man, I mean, what hope is there? How do you dust yourself off and go into the second half of the season like you're fighting for anything other than P2 and just coming to terms with that after you've had a race like today? Can't be easy, but that's why you get paid the big bucks, right? Not sure what the next race is. Maybe I could check that real quick. Like I said, I didn't do any notes for this, which I usually would do, but I just kind of wanted to get straight into it because I was so just F1. What should I type in? Race calendar. just because I was so annoyed by it all. Um, Sorry, I had to use two hands there. I'm not the best type. Dutch. That's not great because that's where like the Dutch GP is like Verstappen's sort of, I was raised in it. I was born in the orange or whatever. Like that's his Bane moment. So winning there is like, or just doing better than Max there is kind of just an impossibility. Red Bull put out all the stops. I don't see it. We then got the Italian Grand Prix. I'm not sure which Italian Grand Prix that is. Baku, Singapore, America, Mexico, Brazil, Vegas, Qatar, like there's still a decent amount of races left. Like the whole narrative can change within a race or two races. If he but it's just like I'm clutching at straws here. A part of me is like if it was going to change, it would have changed already with like how long this has been going on now. But yeah, it is the Dutch Grand Prix, which oh my god, it is quite a long break. It's the 25th of August, so it's basically a month break. A lot of time to clear the head and whatever. Um, but yeah, oh god, I don't want to get too repetitive now because it's just a bunch of things. It's only like two things basically that really annoyed me, which is that I wanted Hamilton to win it. Um, given how the race went, and he didn't, and I needed Norris to at least be ahead of Verstappen, and he wasn't. And it's those two things basically are the only things I even care to want to talk about for this race weekend. But it is just getting repetitive, and I'm just like, moaning on about the same things. But man, I'm venting. You're my free therapist. Oh, I tricked you into being my therapist here, guys. You didn't realize, but that's what you were basically here to do. And oh man, I'm gonna go sulk now. I'm gonna go piss everyone else off who doesn't even watch the sport, who comes into contact with me, and just be in a bad mood and ruin their day now. So, thanks. We got hard and we're going to the end, and I'll see you in. I'll maybe do pods from now to then, but if not, in a month's time, which is crazy. For the Dutch Grand Prix. Remembered it.